I'm actually undeclared, but I'm going to be a literary studies major at UTD, and I'm going to sophomore year. I had to do a project for a poetry class, Susan Briante, and we had to do a creative interpretation of a poem. So I chose Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. I chose to make a music video kind of, but animated, and I backed it with an Animal Collective song. Well, I didn't really know how to make a claymation video at all. I didn't know how claymation worked, but I knew I really wanted to make one. So I looked up just stuff on the internet, how they were made, and I found out that it's all made up of photographs because it's stop motion. Yeah, it's actually a really painstaking. There's a certain number of frames per second, and you have to move the little clay figurine to move it, take a picture, and then move it, take a picture. For my video, it would be 4 frames per second, so that's 4 photographs per second. The first thing I did for the whole project was I went through the poem and drew sort of sketches of everything, like the little plants that they talk about and the Jabberwocky itself. So once I finalized that, I listened to the song over and over while reading the poem and decided what would happen where in the song. It's oh, he should cut his head off there, or oh, he should grab the sword at this point in time. Funny thing about the video is that I'm left-handed, and right when I was creating the set for the Jabberwocky thing, I was cutting up styrofoam stuff and covering it in clay to just make the little structures that were in the scene. And I was cutting a styrofoam ball in half with an X-Acto knife that I had bought that day, and I was cutting it in half and sliced my hand open really badly. It went really deep, and I had to get 8 stitches. I still have a disgusting scar. You can see the scar. It's really ugly, but I cut my hand open and I had to go to the ER and get stitches, and then they gave me a bunch of painkillers, and then I had to make the rest of the video with my right hand. The reason I chose a song and claymation was because since it's a creative and an interpretation of a poem, and this specific poem, I don't know if you've read it, Jabberwocky, has a lot of made-up words in it. So I figured that words, they have a lot of dexterity. This specific poem, the words that he used, he just made them up, so I could just use another medium that has infinite dexterity, which to me I thought of clay, because you can add as much as you want or have as little as you want or whatever, and mold it to any shape that you want to represent anything you want, just like words. And also because of Jabberwocky, when you read that poem, everybody has their own version of it in their head, because the words that he uses aren't real words. So the first stanza is, "'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves and the mome rats outgrabe." And the word outgrabe is used as a verb there, but no one knows what outgrabe means. So the motion of outgrabe could be a little poking motion, or in my head I imagined it as a closing and opening thing. And no one really knows what exactly it was meant to represent. So I could make up my own Jabberwocky in my head using clay, but I would move them a tiny bit and take a picture, and then just move them a tiny bit and take a picture. And I would know that each 4 pictures I took was 1 second in the song, which it used to get lost in it kind of. It's easy to lose where you are. So when I did it, I had to be left alone for a really long time. Another reason why I chose to use the Animal Collective song for the Jabberwocky poem is because Lewis Carroll wrote, I think the first one was Alice in Wonderland, and the second one was Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. And Jabberwocky's in the second one. And I chose it because all of Animal Collective's songs, or a lot of them, are really long and built up and stuff. Sweet Road is just this tiny song that's in the middle of the album, or near the beginning kind of. It's just really a short little thing, and then it keeps the rest of the album is just their regular sort of long built up songs that are 5-6 minutes long. And I chose Sweet Road because, like Jabberwocky, it's like a small break that's part of a bigger whole, like bigger whole in Jabberwocky, with Jabberwocky being the rest of the book and with Animal Collective being the rest of the album.